Entry 1. It has been a few days since I arrived in this world. I'm not quite sure what to make of it just yet, or even more so, the strangers that appeared with me. All I remembered was a bright light. Nothing previously, but after there were people before me, all bizarre looking. We were all there, standing in a circle within a gazebo-like shrine area. The others were just as confused as I. Why were we there? Why some of us looked a certain way? I was definitely in the lot of the strange looking. A fluffy white tail and fox ears, and not to mention, obnoxiously long hair. I didn't remember having those, albeit I didn't remember much before that either. Except my name. Neoma Lawrence. The others had names as well, which wasn't surprising. They all remembered how they got there, though all different in their own ways. Their names? Izumi Kai, Savannah Swansea, Jackie, Moon, Sierra West, and Nixie Marilla. All 7 of us were spoken to by an unknown voice, but I presume she was the one who brought us here. The voice called us the Fallen Stars and gave us our mission.
You have been chosen by the Fallen Stars sent to Earth. Now, we need your help. Our world is being overtaken by the vampire race's crooked royalty. You must defeat the Vampire King and save the vampiric region from their heinous rule, as well as prevent them from growing their rule to Juniper Valley. We believe in you, Fallen Stars. Save our world, and then you may return home once again.
As much information we were given, we didn't really know what to make of it. What it all meant. Where we were. Simple instructions, but we were clueless. So we all decided to make our way to the first building we could see. A band of strangers traveling with the combined goal to figure out what was happening and what we needed to do to get back home. What we found ourselves inside was a tavern and inn. The owner was a friendly older man named Willard. He welcomed us quite warmly and even offered us food and a place to sleep. In return, we would run some errands for him. Before we did those, though, we took some time to compose ourselves and discuss the situation, as well as introduce ourselves. Talk about how we arrived and such. I didn't have much to offer in that department. As soon as we arrived, though, so did nighttime. And there in Juniper Valley Inn, we slept our first night. In the morning, we asked Willard about our main issue and focus, the vampires we were told to free from their current ruler. In short, he just told us to stay away if we'd like to stay alive. It was wonderful for our morale, as we were sent to do the chores he asked us to do the previous evening. I collected some alcohol with Jackie and Sierra, and quickly returned after. It was probably the easiest task given to everyone since we were the first to return back. Our moments alone were quite awkward, but we did talk a bit before the others returned. Jackie was just as she said she was, a normal college student. Sierra, on the other hand, seemed to be a social media addict, becoming panicked at the thought of having no phone on her person anymore. I couldn't really understand, considering our circumstances. Soon, everyone was back and finished with their tasks. Willard then asked us if we had any weapons, and of course we didn't. We didn't have anything. The barkeeper then explained that we would probably need those, as there are monsters that emerge in the nighttime. He sends us over to a blacksmith called Kryn. He was quite the personality. Kryn gave us all nicely crafted iron swords before rushing us out of his shop rudely. Regardless, we were all thankful, since night was falling and we needed to get back before the creatures Willard spoke of emerged. Despite our haste, we couldn't avoid the inevitable as monsters crept out of the shadows and into the moonlight, ready to pounce. We were ready though, at least I thought we were. Our first fight together as a group, and we were frenetically throwing our blades around. Messy. There was so much happening that I didn't pay attention to the warning sound of a hiss before I was blown away, my few memories flashing before me before I suddenly woke up in the bed I slept in at the tavern. There was pain and an extra fogginess that clouded my mind, but I rushed back to the others. That was when we learned that we could be resurrected. With that new information, we finally returned back to the tavern and slept, albeit uneasily. The next day, we recollected our thoughts on the situation we were in, everything that we knew about so far. It didn't really lead anywhere important, though. We were still far too green, unable to grasp the severity and reality of our circumstances. The rest of the day, we wandered around town together, in search of a job or something to lead us in a decent direction so we could set our footing in the new world. Just like our discussion earlier on, it led nowhere. We decided to stay one final night at Willard's Tavern before making our way out into the world on our own, even if we lacked a basic understanding of the place around us. We realized we had no money, job, or anything that could get us a place to stay. So we did something that we thought may have been for the best for the time being. We became self-sufficient and relied on the resources that the world gave us. And we split up. Some stayed in small groups, while others like me decided that being alone for a moment would allow us to clear our minds. Time flew quickly for me after I separated from the other fallen stars. I gathered materials and explored some of the land a little ways outside of town. Night approached quickly, and I had to fight off the monsters that appeared when it became dark. And since I didn't have much light, they were everywhere. I found it easier to fight them off, however, since I didn't have to worry about people getting in the way of my blade. Eventually, I managed to get my hand on a bed and made a spot under a hill my new home. The next few days, I spent my time working on the new base. I called it the Foxhole. I chipped away at the stone bit by bit, taking care to collect and refine the materials I obtained along the way. I fashioned myself new tools, weapons, and armor, which helped me fight off the monsters. I got used to them relatively quickly. Not as scary as the first time I fought them. They were mindless and had no soul, so they were easy to predict. Their remains also left useful materials that I could use later on. Some more so than the others, at least. I also learned the art of agriculture. It was much simpler than I previously thought. Wheat was the easiest to grow and yielded plenty of fruit after a few harvests. Sugarcane was pretty easy too. Learning how to plant fruit trees was challenging, but I eventually understood how to cultivate them. My favorite fruit is the star fruit. My next hurdle was finding a sustainable source of protein, though. It didn't take me too long to figure out what I needed to do, however, as the river my base was next to is full of fish. I managed to craft a simple fishing rod, and the problem was quickly resolved. The days flew by and I kept learning. I hardly noticed the time moving by at all. Azumi stopped by once. She wanted to pick some of the flowers that grew in my area for some of the others that she grouped up with when we split. I have to admit, it was an adorable gesture. Azumi Kai is an interesting one. Maybe it was because I was alone that I noticed her charming nature, or maybe that was just how she was in comparison to the rest. Either way, I'm intrigued by her, so I will remain vigilant. I let her take the flowers, as they weren't really mine to police. We chatted about our situations, and she went back to wherever she was staying. I carried on with my day and rested. Speaking of, this entry is quite long, but I'd like to try and remember every day up until I acquired this journal. Oh well, tomorrow is another day. Entry 2. The next few days after my encounter with Izumi, I journeyed out into the world. I found luscious caves, towering dungeons, and new lands. I stayed clear of signs of civilization, however, even though there wasn't much. The wilderness was enough to acclimate me into the land of Historia for now. The world itself has so many interesting things to offer. I assume it's because of the land's mystical properties. I found new types of flora and fauna in places one wouldn't expect on Earth. I have no real use for them now, but perhaps in the future I could, for something. I'm unsure. When I returned from my adventure, I rested thinking about the future of this space and my new home. The idea was silly. How long were we going to be here? I hadn't a clue, and in a strange way, I'm not sure if I care. If I was going to be here for a while, though, I figured I should make my base more homey, lining the walls with warmer materials, hanging glowberries along the walls, and even placing some lava in the wall near my bed to make the spot warmer. It could get chilly at night. Outside, I spent a few days making myself a fishing hut and dock, just to make the task and storage a little easier. Izumi had also built a house across the water, but we didn't interact too much aside from a passing chat about her getting a job at the library. Aside from discovering new ways to source some materials, my days were rather uneventful. I spent them all alone. Up until yesterday, the day I received this journal. Yesterday morning, I decided to investigate something in regards to a material I acquired while mining. It was a brittle material that reacts to any type of energy, even kinetic. Other than that, I wondered more about this world and how it worked. I barely scratched the surface of it after all, and I didn't learn anything important about our situation in the time that I had spent alone. So, as per usual, I became curious and decided to set out towards the library in Juniper Valley where I found Izumi. We greeted each other and I asked if there were any books or information about Historia. Izumi was quick to give me information. The reason we were chosen was because we were pure of heart. Why were we brought here? Well, the story of Historia's current issue was rather concerning. 100 years ago, a new vampire king was put into power, and quickly after, a majority of the most powerful world leaders went missing under mysterious circumstances. No one knows why or where they could have gone, or what happened to them, just that they vanished. After that, there wasn't really anyone left to stand against the vampiric monarch, aside from the goddesses themselves, that is. The goddesses, while powerful, apparently cannot interfere with the mortals. However, they decided that there should be someone who can take the king down. We were summoned by them because we could inherit abilities that the natives of this world could not. They interfered indirectly through us. Talk about an annoying situation. From what I know of the others, they didn't sign up for this charity work, and I doubt I did either. I didn't and still don't understand why we needed to get involved with these issues between the residents of a foreign world that we aren't a part of. But it's whatever, I suppose. Not like we have any way to get back at the moment. I have the books we read yesterday. Izumi let me keep them. I don't need to write down everything I learned from them, but I suppose it would make it easier for me to remember everything better if I did. Historians mark time periods in a similar way we do on Earth. Instead of BCE, before Common Era, and CE, Common Era, historians have HB and AGB. HB means Historia's beginning. It was a 2,183,000 year-long period when the world only had the goddesses and animals. AGB means after the goddess's breath. This was when the goddesses breathed new life into the world of Historia. That was when they decided to create new sentient beings. The first were elves and fairies. The two races lived together in peace and balance. These were created by Nephlin, the goddess of spring. The next were crosslings, who were animal and elven hybrids, what I appear to be. They were created by Nivia, the goddess of winter. After that, there were humans and mushroom nymphs, who were created by Nemsi, the goddess of summer. The last few being witches, dwarves, and vampires, who were created by Neoma, the goddess of autumn. Monsters have an unknown origin. The goddess Nemsi, Neoma, Nivia, and Nephlin are the goddesses of the seasons. However, they aren't the only ones. They were created by Romsi, the goddess of the elements, and their mother. And finally, there is Elstoria, who is the goddess of night and moon, and Mise, the goddess of the day and sun. This new information is interesting, but I wish there were more. I guess there is no way to completely fill my cup of curiosity for now. I even asked Izumi if she had any clues to what the red dust was, but she was excited by the idea of the source of electricity. I guess we all would be. Flipping a switch is much easier than lighting torches, candles, and lanterns every day. After that, though, we began to discuss random things. How our new features as crosslings affected our habits, abilities, and senses. We also discussed a newer addition of the group, a new fallen star named Molly, who was stuck between the realms for a while before finally appearing here. It was hard to believe that something like that could happen, and if there were more that were chosen aside from us. What if someone appeared before us? Who really knew? Time was an interesting question at the moment, and we didn't have any answers for any of it. They were all questions I will have to keep in the back of my mind for now. Getting back home seemed to be a great concern Izumi had. She had a family. What if I did too? I was more concerned about the circumstances that we had to be put through to get back to Earth, however. Did defeating the Vampire King mean we had to kill him or push him off his throne? Why did we need to do it in the first place? Who's to say who was the bad guy and who wasn't? We had no idea of what we were pulled into and had no context. This all just rubs me the wrong way, and it makes me uncomfortable. I don't think I could do something like that either way. Izumi Kai is an interesting one, though. As she said herself, she tries to look at the positives and that we were all in this together, that we can trust each other. Her motives, however, are clear. She does seem to want to advance our given mission. That's normal given the situation we are in. However, it's a bit unsettling knowing that someone who presents themselves the way she does could even think about acting out something potentially brutal. Pure of heart is the reason we are here. But what makes someone like that? Expecting someone who is pure of heart to kill someone seems strange. Like a contradiction. Sullying those pure hearts by forcing them to commit the actions of a criminal. A murderer. Perhaps I should put a pin in this topic for now, too. We discussed a little about the monsters in the world, but then Izumi told me that she had to show me something. The day had gone by quickly as we talked, so it was nighttime when we made the trek back to her house. We talked about how magic in the world may interact and witchcraft can be used by the residents regardless of their race. Azumi continued that topic by suggesting that she wanted to learn healing magic, which would be useful whenever we had to face off against the Vampire King. Aside from that, we were open about our distrust of each other, but Azumi stated that she didn't think anyone was bad. The fact that I was standing in her home sort of proved that. She seems innocent and a bit naive. That would explain the way she spoke about everything so far. I don't think she's stupid or anything, but it does make me pity her. However, it also worries me. I fear that one day she could get hurt because of that lack of caution with others. Who am I to worry, though? We are strangers, and I could be wrong about her. She did say she wanted to stay here if she could. Well, despite everything we talked about, I do admit I feel better than I did before. Azumi has a way of making me think about things when I speak to her. Her habit of journaling did inspire me to make my own after all. I'm still cautious, but I'm not upset that we are now neighbors. It was hard to get a good idea about what I should write in this, but I think I'm getting the hang of it. Anyway, I should probably stop here for tonight. Nothing eventful happened today, just recounting the events of yesterday. Perhaps tomorrow I should focus on expanding my home. I'm starting to run out of space, so perhaps it would be nice to have a storage room of sorts. And maybe I can look into finally getting some furniture. Entry 4. The days have been passing by pretty quickly. I've almost lost count at this point. Base expansions have been going smoothly, but not as swiftly as I would like. I finally figured out how I want to use the redstone stuff. After some testing, I've seen some of its capabilities, but I know there's much more that can be done with it if used correctly. I've barely scratched the surface. For now, I've been focusing on a large-scale project, but the idea behind it is simple. It will just take a lot of materials, and thus a lot of time. It will also solve the storage issue that's been becoming more prominent. With the auto sorter, my life will be much easier. I haven't talked to the others for a while, but perhaps it's for the best. I've been getting an increasingly anxious feeling over the past few months, as well as strange dreams. I feel trapped, like a dream, but I'm also awake. It makes no sense. I noticed words I don't remember writing in this book, but it is my handwriting. Maybe it's like sleepwalking? I'm not too worried about any of this. It's just unpleasant and a little unsettling. On another note, I've been finding strange books around the world and have learned how to apply their attributes to my items and armor. Furthermore, I have also learned how to create such books. To create and apply them to tools, however, drains me. I don't know how or in what way, but it sometimes takes a while to replenish it. Regardless, it makes going about my day-to-day life simpler. My boots can freeze over water and my sword can light monsters ablaze after a single swing. I don't know if it's the same magic Azumi wants to learn or if it's something entirely different, but man, it's something. Makes me feel like I can take on anything at times. Speaking of magic, I've also learned how to create simple golem-like beings from a small local village. The locals had some warding off the monsters at night. One made of snow and the other of iron. The snow one is named Bob, and the other is named Frank. I've enjoyed having them around. They may not speak, but they have been great company when I work on things in the main room. Frank is a sweetheart, and Bob, well, if anything understood me better than me, it would be Bob. Entry 5. Savannah Swansea left a note at my house. I haven't really spoken to her, but I assume she got my location from Azumi. She seems like she'd talk to the rest of the fallen stars. I'll read it tomorrow. I'm busy at the moment. I hope it isn't anything too urgent. Entry 6. I feel as if things are crumbling apart. No. I feel as if I am crumbling. Savannah had a party and, well, it didn't go as planned. Azumi and I have been poisoned by the vampires. We did not prepare for this. We didn't prepare at all. Willard told us that the venom of a vampire can poison someone if ingested. Yes, that is what happened. Vampires snuck in and poisoned the food at the party with their venom. We didn't know that could happen. I feel like an idiot. I let my guard down once, and now I'm going to die again. I can't, though. This isn't just me going through this, but Azumi as well. She has been beaten down twice today. First the poison, and then the sudden disappearance of Jackie. She blamed herself. She clearly cares a lot about the group, and I can't say I haven't grown quite fond of her. Not only her, but Savannah seemed quite distressed as well, claiming that this situation reminded her of her ill mother. I'd be upset as well if my party was used as a Trojan for a sudden attack. I need to do my best to pretend that things are okay for now, especially for their sake. I'm slower than usual, but we will find a cure for this. I don't want to feel death again, and I don't want either of them to feel responsible for anything else. My insides feel like they're being ripped to shreds, but I'll ignore it for them. Not only that, but I'll survive this and kill the bastard who did this to us as well. Entry 7. Well, after a few days of this illness beating the crap out of me, there's some good news. I visited Azumi to see how things were going, and she didn't seem to be getting any better either. We decided to head over to Willard since he was our only lead and we spoke to him more about our situation. He says that he has 2 friends that could potentially help us. Bonnie, a botanist, and Sun Wukong, an interesting fella, as Willard put it. It was also a name I remember from a Chinese myth. I now have suspicions, but they will have to wait. They are our leads, though we'll have to pursue them another day. With the condition Azumi and I are in, we can't walk around on our own searching for something that may not exist. Other than that, I've gotten an item from the goddesses that may help with enhancing my items faster. I hate asking for help, but I couldn't find anything like it anywhere. I hope it works. Entry 8. I feel like I can't go on anymore. I hope I don't die today. That would suck. If I move or even breathe, I feel like I'm being slashed by a million blades. It's unbearable. I think Azumi just called us to the guild hall. I can't tell if it's some new technique she picked up or if it's the screaming in my mind getting louder. There's only one way to find out. I hope this isn't the last entry I write in this life. Entry 9. Update! I'm not dead. I just got back from getting our cure, and I feel great. After Izumi called the fallen stars telepathically, we all gathered together at the guild hall to find a way to put an end to our illness. Using the leads Willard gave us, we set out to the people in question. First was Bonnie. Bonnie had some interesting information to share with us, and was just interesting in general. She scares me. That aside, she told us about a cure using the vampiric rose. However, that rose had been plucked to near extinction, so stumbling across one would be nearly impossible. Bonnie was a dead lead, so we headed on to the next and hopefully the one that could save us. Else we'd die a slow and miserable death. We journeyed over to the snowy mountain behind Juniper Valley and made our way to the edge and called out for Sun Wukong. It didn't take him long to jump down to us. He was indeed an interesting character. When we spoke, he was rude, aggressive, and cocky, just as Willard warned. Eventually, we had to tell him the truth about us so he'd listen. But getting the cure from him wouldn't be that easy. He wasn't allowed to interact with anyone, but if we could figure out who summoned us, we may get what we were looking for. So we all made the trek back to where it all started. Back where we appeared. The others called out to the goddesses, and eventually one came. Nivia, the goddess of winter. She introduced herself to us and asked what we needed. When we told her what was happening, her answer for a cure was less than promising. She told us we could kill ourselves and we'd be fine. But not before mentioning something that made me shudder. Every time we died, we would lose some of our humanity. The thought freaks me out every time I think about it. I died once, but how many more would change me? I feel a pit in my stomach, and I know it isn't the illness since I've been cured by the time of writing this. Back on topic. After that less than morale-boosting pep talk from our summoner, we made our way back to Wukong and hoped that he was fine with Nivia. Thankfully, he was satisfied with that answer and gave us some peach slices. They were apparently magical and gave him immortality. The amount he gave us, though, was enough to eliminate the poison and restore us back to perfect health. I've never felt better. After that, though, we talked and some of the others challenged his strength. In a world where there was magic and monsters and everything else, I wasn't surprised that he was as strong as Willard had said he was. I couldn't help but be curious about his story, but for now I'm satisfied with the fact that he had helped us and I was grateful. After that, we all celebrated at Willard's Tavern. It was nice, but I started to get unsettled by all of the recent events and left. I really thought I was going to die today, or soon. Moving around back and forth the way we did was utter hell, but hey, it was worth it. Izumi and I got to live another day. But how long would that last? Now that my head has cleared, I need to prepare for anything, and I also have to investigate one of the others. Savannah Swansea. I need to be sure if she had anything to do with hurting us, with hurting my friend, Izumi. Entry 10. Today was unexpected. I had gone to check out the guild hall again, The last time I was there, I had fallen ill, so I didn't have a good chance to look around. I figured it wouldn't be busy since some of the others seemed to be a little introverted as well. As I was looking at the quest board, Savannah walked in. She spooked me. Not just because I was zoned out, but because she was the last person I thought I'd see so soon. The last person I wanted to see. I couldn't help but suspect that she had something to do with the venom at the party. I know it may seem illogical, but it's hard to not suspect her since she hosted the party. I know Willard catered, but he hasn't done anything to hurt us so far. If anything, he's helped us way more than he should have, and even has connections with someone who did cure us. He doesn't seem shady and has earned the trust of the people around him. Savannah, however, I know nothing about her aside from what she has told us, and there's no one who can back up what she says. I might be wrong, and she could have just been in the wrong place at the wrong time. But I can't just let this go until I know she's safe. Anyway, we talked about the quests, and she suggested that we do one together. At first, I was apprehensive at the thought, but then I realized this could be the perfect time to observe her. A true one-on-one with Savannah Swansea, my current focus. I accepted the proposal and decided to play along. The quest came from a local bakery. A robbery recently took place there, and we needed to gather the details, so we headed over to speak to the witness. The witness at the bakery was a man named Willow. He said that we were to look for the thief, a green dwarf of some sort that had headed west, a little ways from the town. Our reward from the bakery owner, Zach, would be an amethyst shard. With that bit of information, we left the bakery and headed in the direction of where they said the thieves' camp was. We eventually spotted the camp and approached it quietly, but it seemed like there was no one there. The storage within the 2 tents at the campsite held an abnormal amount of cheesecake and emeralds, however, so Savannah figured this had to have been the place. I wasn't too sure about taking the goods back, however, since we hadn't found the thief yet. We searched further into the forest until the sun began to set and decided to head back from where we came. When we passed by the camp we found, a horde of thieves swarmed us, but I was alright with this. After all, I had gotten stronger, but so did Savannah. She seems to be getting quite good at the sword. It makes me nervous, but at the same time, it was just what we needed. After we sparred with the thieves, we knocked them unconscious and collected the stolen goods to return them to the bakery. It was an interesting experience, to say the least. Savannah has a nice sense of humor. She called the thieves the Cheesecake Cartel. She doesn't seem to be super confident in her personality traits. She says she tends to talk too much, but I find her personality to be quite comforting. I enjoy my time with her, so I agreed to mine with her soon. Despite that, I still can't let my guard down. Besides, I remembered something today. I think. Entry 11. I feel kind of bad. Savannah visited to give me pears and also asked that I help her mine, since she needs armor. I'd almost forgotten we had a discussion like that not too long before this, so I agreed to go along. It took us a while to find a cave, but we found one. The way down was basically just a drop, so I decided to start constructing a path down. I was careless, though, and found myself plummeting down. Thankfully, my enhanced armor kept me from dying, but it was startling and did hurt. but I was alive, so it didn't matter to me. Savannah and I managed to make a safe path down together. I almost faced death a second time to a creeper, though. But Savannah alerted me, and I didn't take as much damage as I would have from it. That wasn't fun. Aside from that, the trip itself wasn't all too eventful. We talked a bit. I taught Savannah a few things about mining, cave things in general, etc., etc. Fought off some cave spiders in an abandoned mining area, and found an amethyst geode. As we continued to mine, however, my anxieties around Savannah and her connection to the vampire venom just grew more and more. We were alone in a cave, far from the other fallen stars in Juniper Valley. So, of course, I was nervous. I ended up asking her, pretty bluntly now that I think back on it. Also, it may not have been the best idea to confront someone who maybe tried to assassinate you in an isolated area, but I was confident that I could protect myself. Her reaction confused me, but was understandable. At first, she was upset, but then she understood how I had somehow come to that conclusion. I don't think I really expected much, since I wasn't sure about the accusation either. It was just something that came to me. It felt irrational, but for some odd reason, she thought the opposite. In a way, it made me feel normal. I was satisfied with her answer. It cleared my mind. However, she thought a little differently and vowed that she would prove her innocence and gain my trust. I told her she didn't need to do that, but she insisted. So there's not much I could have done about it. It makes me feel bad for some reason. A little guilty even. After that, we started to make our way back home, but since night had fallen by the time we arrived at Savannah's, some phantoms began attacking us and I had to sleep over at her place. Looking back, I could have just slept in the guild hall, but we were in a rush. I learned that Nixie had cats, so that was nice. I arrived home not too long ago, though. These thoughts have been on my mind for a bit, so now that I have the time, it's nice to have them all written down. Entry 12. None of us are going home. Not for a very long time, at least. Part of me doesn't want to believe it, for Izumi and Savannah's sake at least. But we aren't getting closer to getting back. We're just pawns for the goddesses, because they can't bring themselves to either let nature take its course or interfere directly. I don't care about going home. I don't know what home means anymore, but there are others who want to go back, who needs to go back. I may not be one of them, but the reality of this all is starting to become too cruel for me to face when thinking about the lives of others. Every time I think about our situation, I break more and more. I don't know how long I can keep it all inside. My mind will rush out like a tidal wave one day, and I hope when it does, the others won't get washed up with it. Entry 13. We were attacked. I don't know how long I can keep doing this. I was forced to take the lives of sentient beings. I'm so angry. I'm so angry at the goddesses. I'm so angry at the Vampire King. I hate this world. The vampires that I encountered tonight didn't need to die. The people in Juniper Valley didn't need to go through this nightmare. No one should have been hurt tonight. So why? It's all so unfair. Why do they have to die at our blades? Why do we need to be the ones to do it? Everything is crumbling. It's all up in flames. I'm so tired. Tomorrow is another day. Hey everyone, SYAN here. Thank you all for watching this video. It means a lot to me that you've made it this far. Before you leave, however, please stand by for an after-credit treat. For now, I'd like to thank everyone who's waited patiently for this video to come out. It's been a long 4 months making this thing, and I couldn't be happier to get it out and begin working on Season 2. A huge thank you, as well, for those who supported me during this insanity, and throughout Season 1 of Fallen Stars in general. It's been a great ride, and I can't wait to continue into Season 2 and beyond. I also hope that you all have noticed the fan art, you know, on the screen right now that's flashing, and there. I tried to compile all possible Neoma fan art, and I ask that you all support the wonderful people who put their time and effort into these fan works. Seeing these always makes my day brighter and gives me a little push to continue doing things like this, even when I'm feeling down. I can't wait to continue this journey together, and I can't wait to see you all in Season 2. With that being said, however, here's your MCU-styled after-credit scene. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and, as always, remember, I'm right behind you. See you on the flip side! No, I can't do this. Just one more day. I can't. What if? No! I'll do it tomorrow.